just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Well, the best kind of top 5 at 5 over the years has been when Luigi's come in early to be a part of that. Before we get to some hockey conversation, it really is him in the flesh, Lou Nanne. In fact, one of the texters notes, does Louie know it's supposed to snow here this week? Because the assumption is if you knew that, you wouldn't come back. Now, you may have had a reason that you had to come back, but otherwise, you are aware, right? There's sleet in the forecast Thursday. Are you still going to be here Thursday?
No, I'm going out Thursday morning.
That fast?
Yes, that bad.
You're unbelievable.
I did my taxes today, and now I go back.
I knew it. I told Abbott, it's either executive physical at Mayo or his taxes. Yeah. It's one of those two.
One or the other, yeah.
So I'm glad I got it right.
So you're going to beat the sleet. That's great.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope it doesn't come till after I've left in the morning.
Yeah, it won't. It's Louie luck. There's no chance it's going to sleet until you're... Are you going back to Florida or California?
Well, Florida.
Florida first, and then...
Yeah, and then the following week I got Arizona, the following week I got California.
There you go.
Just a lot of trips.
Welcome back. It's good to see you. Gaardsy, where would you like to begin the top 5?
Talking college basketball, but more specifically, the numbers are in. The ratings are in. And so far, the 2026 NCAA tournament, which you can hear right here on the fan, is the most watched NCAA tournament since...
Magic Larry. No, because that whole tournament wasn't watched. It was the championship game that was watched. I'm going to say... Oh, God, I don't know.
1993.
Ooh.
Averaging 10.3 million viewers through the Elite Eight across all the verticals.
Who was 1993? Refresh my memory.
Well, the tournament, so that would have been the second Fab 5 year.
Okay.
North Carolina.
All right.
Kentucky was good. Jamal Mashburn. Yeah. Really the same teams that are good this year.
Yes.
For the most part.
Some
I think Arizona was pretty good. Right. Duke was good.
Lute Olson.
Yep, exactly. Up 9%. The UConn-Duke Elite Eight matchup peaked with 18.9 million viewers on CBS. Crowd. That game averaged 13.4 million. Sweet 16 primetime window on Friday, 14 million. That's Duke, that's Michigan, that's St. John's, that's Alabama. Every game window in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight delivered year-over-year viewership increases.
Here's my question to both of you. Would that be possible if, let's say, The Big Dance was on Amazon Prime? Or, any of the other streamable things. Is that possible? No, I don't think it would be.
Probably not.
At least not yet.
No, having the network, having TBS.
Yeah, you still got the network, because most people have TBS, right? Or True TV or whatever there were 3 channels at the start they were using.
So, pretty good. And it helps, as we said last week, Duke.
Yeah.
Patino. Michigan. UConn. The teams that you've got, those are heavyweights. And people like to watch the heavyweights.
Well, I laughed at Barkley because he said there's no way Connecticut's coming back after that first half. Remember that?
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I had to leave. I think that's when we had the game or something. But at the end of the game, I couldn't believe that one shot. And I was saying, the first thing I said, I wonder what Barkley
Barkley handled it, yeah.
Although he said nobody can beat Arizona or Michigan. So
yeah, he's made a name for himself with bold proclamations. And, of course, the danger is sometimes you're going to be right and sometimes you're going to be incredibly wrong. Fortunately for him, the brand is great enough that it doesn't matter. He's impossible not to watch and listen to.
That's
correct?
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if he's wrong, that's good. People have fun.
Exactly it. And he's got a good sense of humor about that, too, most of the time. That's for sure.
Julius Randle with 24 points. Rudy Gobert with 14 points, 10 rebounds. How about Ayo Dosunmu? A triple-double. 18 points, 15 rebounds, 12 assists. He also had 3 steals. The Timberwolves routed the Dallas Mavericks last night in Dallas, 124-94. Anthony Edwards with 17 points in his return from injury and came off the bench because, as Chris Finch said, nature called just moments before tip-off.
Louie, have you ever missed, or do you know of any of your teammates who ever missed the start of the game simply because they had to go to the can?
No.
Interesting.
I think some of them went in their pants.
That's a hockey
I'm
player.
Serious, yeah.
See, hockey,
just
basketball,
go and play.
they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Hockey, they would go ahead and play,
there have
pants.
been guys that have done it.
Is that right?
Yeah. And it's terrible.
That's
Yeah, not advisable.
Can't be fun on the bench.
No.
That's for sure. That cannot be fun.
You hope they get game misconduct or something.
I forgot to ask Tom Crean about that because it does happen.
Well, Chris Hine last night. Well, first of all, my tweet was, and that's why Johnny had to go to Dallas to get that story.
Right,
Johnny
right.
was the one Minnesota reporter that was in the room that could get the story first from Chris Finch and then confirmed it using much more colorful language that I showed Luigi during the pause, a much more vivid detail of what than when nature calls.
Yes, that's Ant.
But Chris Hine from the Star Tribune, who wrote the book about Anthony Edwards, tweeted out a picture of one of the chapters where his high school coach basically said that was a frequent occurrence before practice or games, and the team, he just had to go. It was just whatever. That was his regular time, and
I think
they had to hold off practice until Anthony got there.
I think Ant's food habits might have something to do with that a little bit, because I still don't think they're great. Allegedly a little better than they were. I'll be honest, when I noticed it at first, I thought it was with Ant. It's also possible he just wasn't ready. He came out late. Because he comes out late for warm-ups, for God's sake. So I thought, and they've never really held him accountable on that, which makes no sense to me. I know he's Ant, but so I didn't assume that that's what it was. I said, well, he probably just, he wasn't out there soon enough, so they decided we're not going to start you. And there's no penalty for that, right?
That's the difference.
That's what Louie was asking about.
Because if you put your hockey lineup in, and then you start the game, and one of the guys that you listed isn't there, that guy can't play.
He cannot play.
No.
I think that's true of baseball, too, isn't it?
That sounds right. Once you turn the
starting
lineup card.
They might have changed it in hockey now after the years, but
it is an interesting
I caught
point.
another team one time. Yes, yeah.
I know in basketball, once you turn in your lineups, like in the book, sometimes you'll forget to put a player in the book, and then they'll check in. And so, number 23, Lou Nanne, checks in, but he's not in the scorebook.
Yes.
That's a technical. But I don't know about once you submit your starters, you can just simple as go, hey, Conley's going in for Ant. I don't know. Obviously not, because I'm sure he was entered in as a starter.
It's almost too bad that became the story, because the story of the game should have been Ayo Dosunmu.
Correct.
Again, they're playing, Dallas is decimated. They're a mess. They are playing out the string at this point. But that kid, who, of course, the Wolves acquired just before the trade deadline, he's been a revelation. I loved the move when they made it. I feel even better about it now. 2 weeks ago, I was clamoring for him to start. And Louie, I probably get too hung up on who starts, but I will say, and we talked to Tom Crean about this, forget the starting, because anybody can start in basketball. I think what he's doing is making it harder and harder for the head coach, not to allow him to finish games. And I don't know what the lineup configuration is, who sits. Maybe it's DiVincenzo on a given night. Maybe it's somebody else. But he's playing too well, and he's too mature of a player on a team that occasionally has some immaturity in terms of effort and sort of consistency of dedication to the bit. I think you got to play him a lot. He's been a great. I don't even know where they'd be without him, because they had no real bench. He, in effect, replaces Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who they couldn't keep because they couldn't re-sign everybody. He's been great in Atlanta, but they needed somebody who could do some of those things, and he's been absolutely terrific, the guard they got from the Bulls.
Well, look at the games they won when they had injuries.
Yes, exactly.
Serious injuries, and they kept winning. Ant was out, for 5 games or something?
4 or 5, I think at this point,
And they just kept rolling along. That shows you depth means a lot.
Twins are back in action tomorrow against Kansas City. They don't play today. They lost yesterday. We talked about it. That happened during the show. And the Wild do not play until Thursday.
We're going to get into all that with Louie about the fact that if you have extended time between games this late in the season, how you use it if you believe the team is in crisis. What's interesting is I don't think Louie thinks the team is in crisis. So we'll get into all that with him. Keep the questions coming. Bradshaw and Brian, KFAN text line 64686. A lot of other good questions already on the horizon. We'll continue with Louie in just a minute.
KFAN.
Well, she sneaks around the world from India to Carolina. She's a sticky-fingered filcher from Berlin down to Belize. Take you for a ride on a slow boat to China. Tell me, where in the world is
Lou Nanne?
He is brought to you by Kemp's, and he is in studio as we speak. A lot of good questions already coming in for Louie. 64686. If you're so inclined, and man, they're coming in like fast and furious, and we'll try to cover as many of them as we possibly can. Well, here's a good toss-up question regarding kind of the state of the team. I mentioned the team was off, basically had 4 days off, I think, between games. Their next game is a home game, Gaardsy tells me, on Thursday night. So when you have that much time, now let me back up. Guerin has said the results for him lately, this was actually a week ago, unacceptable. He has been very critical of the way the team has played. The head coach at times has sounded pretty critical of the way the team has played. Basically, they've been a 500 team since coming back from the Olympic break. You, on the other hand, do not seem to be ringing the alarm bells at the same level as people around the team seem to be. Why is that?
Well, one, I want to keep myself positive because I don't want to get all upset. and I really believe that teams hit a soft spot. Dallas just went through one before, so I wanted the Wild hit one now before the playoffs. I don't want to have their soft spot in the playoffs, so I'm saying get everything out of there. But more than that, I'm looking at it from a different view. They had 8 guys on the Olympic teams of a few countries there, and I don't think people are taking into account what that took out of these players. And you never got a time to recruit. And I feel that nobody's going to catch the Wild now. And soon, well, at least if it was me, soon I'd give those 8 guys a couple of days off, a couple of games off. And then I think they're going to come back really, in top form. They've had some soft spots. The biggest point is they weren't scoring. I think, Kaprizov's getting back to it now, and because he was 5 points without a goal. Goldie was 6. I mean, they only had like an assist. And I think Boldy needs a rest in my mind, and Hughes needs a rest. I mean, you got guys that played a lot of hockey in those games under enormous pressure. There's nothing like the pressure that they went through, and for a hockey player outside till you get the Stanley Cup. And I don't even think the Stanley Cup pressure is as much as playing for the Olympic gold medal against Canada. And so I just think I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And I like Wallsted's last few games have been really good. So I'm looking at the solid points, and I like the part of the depth that they got there. And I don't think that they're set on lines yet. He's still experimenting on what he might have and what he can go to. And you put those things together, and you could lose a few games, which they've done. But the adjustments that they can make and the additions that they had, I think, allow them to play the game any way a team wants to play it. They can play physical, they can play with finesse, and they really improved, I think, the durability that you need for playoffs because they've increased their size. And I always worry about size,
Yeah.
And I really think that, it should be a tremendous series with Dallas. And I'm just hoping that if you get equal goaltending between Dallas and Minnesota, that equal goaltending, the Wild are going to win this one.
Maybe you've already answered Troy from Farmington's question. Here's what he asks. How do you balance giving key players needed rest with the need to head into the playoffs with momentum and continuity? Seems like Wild Stars are in need of that rest, but the team needs to get on a roll, and this team needs to play together. So it sounds like you don't necessarily buy that premise, because that's what a lot of people are worried about. It's like, well, no, but you got to give some sense that this is all coming together, but you do have to weigh that against, making sure that your players are physically rested as much as they can be going into the postseason. So what's the Lou Nanne philosophy of quote unquote late regular season momentum carrying over?
Well, I just want the team to play together the last 2 games. That's where the momentum in my mind will start.
Right.
I want them to get the rest before.
Gotcha.
And you don't have to take them all over in one night because you got the flexibility. You've got 8 games to go that you could take some out. You need to look at the lineup you're going to want anyway. You've had Urov sitting out 3 games. And that's enough for him. You got to get him back in the lineup. And you had Sturm's been out 3 games. So you've got games that quality guys that can get back in there and start giving a few other guys rest. I think you got to give Hughes rest. I think even though Faber looks like a bull and so strong, I'd still give him a game or two off, just because those guys are going to play so much. They're going to. Hughes one of the games, either the one, I think it was the one in Florida, because I was at the game down there and I was checking the times. I think he played 31 minutes that night, and he was playing like that in the Olympic team too. So I think he's not a big man. I give him one. For sure, maybe 2 games off.
A lot of good questions coming in, and we're going to stay on the Wild for much of the visit. This is from Jacob in Maple Grove. What is Louie's take on the coach firing in Vegas with 8 games left? Vegas seems like a very cutthroat organization. Is that probably because it's considered a destination location that players always want to go to? Doesn't seem like the Buffaloes or the Winnipegs of the world could operate like that.
Well, I think that comes from the owner, Bill Foley. He's very quick to pull a trigger on anything they want. The 8 games doesn't bother me. If you look back to Lamoriello, when he fired a coach and put in Robinson, I think there were 5 games left. I remember Louie doing that, and they won the Stanley Cup. And there's been other guys that have fired coaches. I think about 9 or 10 games, and so I don't think that's bad. What I thought was different was I really like Cassidy. He's won a Stanley Cup there, and he's had a couple of good teams this year. For whatever reason, they're not responding the way they had for his other. I think he's a terrific coach, and you have to remember, you take Eichel on that team. He's their best player on the team. He hasn't got a power play goal. I mean, that's incredible. He gets about 5 shots on the power play. He's a terrific goal scorer. He hasn't scored one. I mean, I had no problem if I had to move a coach, but Cassidy's really a good coach. And if I were the Maple Leafs, I'd be hiring him right after they fire Berube, which I hear they're going to do. So if they do that, I think that a smart choice would be Cassidy. He was very successful in Boston, very successful in Vegas, and Tortorella gives you some jam right away. And I don't think they even, now this can't be true, but I heard that they didn't even talk term with him. He's just, coaching until the end of the year. That really surprised me. Yeah. I can't believe that, but that's what I heard some broadcasters say, so it might be true. But that guy's got a short fuse and that owns the team, not runs the team.
Yeah. Which would you rather have, a gold medal or a Stanley Cup?
Oh, that's tough.
Good question, isn't it?
Yeah, really good question. Stanley Cup is tougher to win, but I never had the feeling that I had when I was in the locker room playing for my country. I think that the gold medal to me is just it's unique. It's so different. When you're playing a Stanley Cup, you have the fire and the passion, but it's a different feeling. I have to tell you, all you wait for is, they don't play the national anthem or anything before the game. It's only after the game. Whoever wins gets their national anthem played. And it's really a difference when you have to stand for somebody else's and not yours. and I think the uniqueness of it, because of what it entails, representing your country, to me, I would have loved to have a gold medal.
That's a good question to ponder. That's for sure. Kaprizov. Even a couple texters, one in particular, pointing out that, in his case, he was off for the Olympics. Do you think it's just luck with him? Do you see the same verve and activity that you associate with Kaprizov when he's at his best?
Oh, the last couple of games, he's been really good. I mean, really good. He played with Hartman, Zuccarello, and the last 2 games, he could have had four goals.
You're not worried about him?
Not at all. And the fact is, Hartman all of a sudden senses playoffs. He has a playoff jam to him when he gets close, and he could have tied that game late in Boston and made a great play. And the last 2 games, Hartman's been playing with a sense of determination, and he's scoring, and Zuccarello's scored, and so that line looks like they're ready to go. I'd like to see Boldy get rested and they get that line ready to go. And Eriksson Ek, they both played in the Olympics. They played a lot of hockey, and that's 2/3 of that line. And Hines is still looking whether he wants to go with Johansson on that line or
Right.
Tarasenko. And Tarasenko's been terrific the last. I mean, he's had 21 goals this season, which is just
That's a good point,
tremendous comeback.
Right.
And he's really led the
We
team
talked
the
about
last
him
3
when they
weeks.
got him. Like, what can you get out of him at this point? Yeah.
So you got flexibility of him,
Right.
And so there's a lot of things that I like about it, and it comes right back to let's start in the goal. You got to give us good goaltending, and if we get good goaltending, you're gonna be in every game.
Are we as good defensively now, though, as we were before we're obviously a lot better offensively since the big trade. But are we as good defensively? Are we as fundamentally sound as I think we really were about the way we thought we had to win games?
Well, that's a good point. It's not the defensemen. It's are you playing the system the way they want?
Right.
And I think that they're looser in their own zone than they want to be, and that's what Hines is trying to tighten up. But again, you have two defensemen played tremendous amount of hockey in the Olympics, and you got Brodin who was out for 6 weeks or something, and so you got to get the guys rested and shape the play. And I like the way 5 and 6 Bogosian and Middleton been giving you physical play and been able to step up there, and you still have Spurgeon who's always solid. He lucked out and when he hit that goal post and just got 15 stitches because his stitches heal. That's not a big problem. He could have hurt his neck more hitting that goal pipe, but I expect him back. But I feel they're going to be solid in the defensive zone once I think the defensemen have to think defense first in their own zone. Once they just get back to that mentality.
Yeah. That's key.
That's it. Right now we're a little run and gun and flying, but I think when you get into the playoffs, I do think that the switch is going to turn on and tighten it up.
Yeah, you got to. Yesterday, John Krasinski created quite an uproar, especially within the hockey community. I had a text for him that asked a question, and in the end, the question had to do with which of the two winter sports games, hockey or basketball, is more demanding, more taxing. And ultimately, Johnny picked basketball. What do you want to weigh in on this? Because it was a huge controversy yesterday. Hockey community bitter, some basketball people bitter. Everybody, became a very polarizing question. You want to weigh in on it?
Well, I really think that when you're looking at sports, you see how is it more taxing? You're running constantly in basketball. I mean, you do play at a fast pace. You stay out there, but I don't think you still fight for pucks the way you do. You can't fight for basketball the way you can fight for pucks. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Krasinski played hockey, so he just doesn't know what it means to fight for pucks along the boards in the corner, stuff like that. And I take nothing away from basketball.
No,
because
you never have.
They have some, strong contact in around the basket, but they don't have as much of it as you're going to get in hockey. And when you're going that much faster and hitting somebody, and you do go a lot faster skating than you do running, and you hit somebody, I don't think John's ever felt one of those checks.
I'll ask him next time. Maybe we'll play it for him next week. I said, and it's not a very sexy position because it's not going too far one way or the other, that they're both incredibly taxing games, but they're different. They're just, and you pointed out some of the differences between the two. To me, it's a little bit of comparing apples and oranges because the nature of hockey is, how long are you on the ice? A minute?
No, 40
less than that.
45.
And obviously in basketball, you might play, there's still some really good players, not as many as used to, that play 40 minutes or 47 minutes a night, whatever the case may be. Yeah. Now, it's a different kind of stop and start, but to me, it's two completely different sorts of games in that sense when it comes to trying to figure out effort, which one is more taxing.
And you're leaving one big thing out.
What's that?
You're not wearing 20 pounds worth of equipment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I got to tell you. But
it's sleeker now, isn't it? Compared to the old days?
So maybe down to 14 or 15. Do you know when in the Kentucky Derby stuff like that?
Yeah.
They put 2 pounds on a 2,000-pound horse to just hamper him. And so not 14 pounds.
Right.
So tell Krasinski. you put 2 pounds on Krasinski's bottom, but try 14 or 15 to do it. It's not going to, it's going to be much different.
You know what he needs to do? He's got his own podcast, I think. He should have you on to discuss these sort of things. That's how he can show a welcoming, a warming to the hockey community that he tends to enrage from time to time. That would be the answer, reaching out that way,
Yeah,
bridging the gap.
I don't know why the hockey community gets enraged that he's just pulling them in.
Well,
and by the way,
he is.
And everybody knows if you're running constantly, you're going to get tired. So you could see basketball players getting tired.
Yeah,
especially if they do play the games and not have load management like.
This is from 612 guy. What is the role that Nick Foligno was supposed to fill, and is he filling it?
Oh, he's definitely filling. I really like that addition. I did the game Saturday, and the best line was probably Foligno's line. They moved him to center, and he was very good. He's been good in faceoffs, but he's been killing penalties, and the physicality. You knew something was going to happen. The first game he played, he's filling the niche that he should fill, and I personally don't. I'd be surprised if Hines changed the two Folignos and Trenyan, because you don't want to play against that line all night long. Trenyan's got almost 400 hits, and Marcus hits everything that moves too. They're not an easy line to play against. They could have a real telling effects on the defense of Dallas by just forechecking, because they don't miss a check. They go into to check you, they make contact. And I think that was really a good move.
What, for you, defines success for the Wild in the playoffs?
Well, first of all, I want them to beat Dallas. If they beat Dallas, that's going to be success.
By the way, somebody earlier said you've been all along with us confident that they can, and they wanted to know why. Where does that confidence come from?
Because I've watched them play, during this year and the other playoffs, and I keep thinking that right now up front, they've got some, Dallas got some good players, but I don't think that when you start getting third and fourth line that they're as physical or they're going to be any more productive. They got some outstanding players with the Johnson and the other Ratton and one other goal scorer up there, and they got two outstanding defensemen that I like, Heskinen and Harley. And, of course, Ottinger's given them great goaltending, but that's why I said if we can get equal goaltending.
Yeah, that's your back.
Then I like the fact that we've added so much size, and I think we're going to punish them a bit, especially the third and fourth lines and the defensemen. So I just think that, if you look at Kaprizov last year, I think he got 5 goals. He turns it into a different game. And now you add Boldy, the way he's come through, the confidence he's gotten from playing the playoffs and the Olympics. So you got two lines like that. You got a miserable center to play against two miserable centers, because Eriksson gives everybody fits all the time. He bothers everybody, and Hartman is just combative as can be. So I'm, and now adding McCarron in the middle. He's 6'6", and he takes the body all the time. He can kill penalties. I just like the way they fill their holes.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a quick pause in here. Now, I do want to include some college hockey conversation with since last time we've talked, obviously, the Gophers have made some changes when it comes to both women's hockey and men's hockey. And I want to get into some more details certainly on the men's side for sure, because, my sources say basically you made the hire. So
no, I didn't.
That's what I was told.
No. I was on the committee, but I told Mark I can live with any. You make the choice. All three were very good to me.
Oh, okay.
I was impressed with them all.
Is that just you being self-deprecating?
No, because if I was dead set against somebody, I'd have said, well, 2 of the 3 were good. But I felt all 3 were good. I was confident.
So you didn't block anybody?
No, I didn't.
So you could have done that, to a certain extent, and you didn't do that.
No.
All right, I want to get into all of that when we come back. And we'll continue to we've got a lot of really good texts that continue to come in. Louie, this is big. This is a banner day. Louie back in studio. When's the next time we'll be able to count on this?
In May.
July?
Late May. No, I think late May.
Late May.
I think so.
Okay. We'll take that. That'll work. More Luigi, and keep the text coming. Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line is 64686. Don't go away. In studio, I want to get to some college hockey as well. The men's hockey team at the University of Minnesota has a new coach. His name is Brett Larson. Maybe you can talk directly to the rubes out there and I actually defended them, and which might annoy you, but because the immediate reaction among some of the hockey hardcores was, really? Okay, I guess. I don't know. I feel like we should get somebody who's been a little bit more accomplished, whatever. So talk directly to those folks as a person who's familiar with a lot of these candidates. And it sounds like your approach was on the committee is, I'll tell you who I can't live with, and then I'll leave it up to you.
Yep.
The guy I now refer to as the smiling assassin, Mark Coyle at the University of Minnesota, has fired a bunch of coaches in the last, 5 years. But give it to those rubes who are going, I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, I get some of it, but I'm not inspired by that hire. You would say what?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that one thing great about Coyle is he's not afraid to make a decision.
No,
you better be happy you got a guy like that than one would last.
Smiling assassin.
Yeah. Well, when you say someone more accomplished, take a look at what Brett Larson's done. He's coached in the Frozen Four finals. Mm-hmm. He's been there a couple times. He's been in the playoffs more than that. He's won 2 gold medals with the World Juniors. He's, won 2 NCAAs with assistant coach with Sandlin and Duluth. I mean, he's got a great track record. He's a very, very good recruiter. I think you're going to be extremely impressed with the staff he comes up with. And he's got contacts in all the right places. When I joined the Wild on the road and I ran into Faber because I joined them in Florida before I went to Boston, Brock just came out, isn't that great, Larson? He said, I played for him. He's fantastic. That came out of nowhere. I didn't ask him, what do you think or anything. He didn't even
volunteered
know.
It.
I was, part of that. So I was really impressed by him saying that, and I had some calls after decision was made by Coyle, and from guys in the hockey world who were extremely, extremely happy and thought that it was going to be a great kid.
Or are we on the money, the NIL kind of stuff that we hear about so much in football and basketball? Where is that in hockey, and are we in good shape here?
Well, no, we're not in good shape here when it comes to money because, as you know, football takes 75% of it, and then the other 25% is split between the 2 basketball teams,
right.
Men's and women's volleyball and hockey. And so we're not going to be like Penn State that just got $750,000 for Gavin McKenna, the number 1 pick. And Penn State's the guy that built the rink, owns the Buffalo Sabres, and so in some of these other situations have more money. But money's not.
Why can't we find a benefactor?
I don't know, but we don't find it not only for hockey, for other sports.
That's true.
I don't think we need it as much in hockey because people want to play Minnesota. We got so many good hockey players around here. It's a great place to play, and I think that's one of the features that's going to be a big plus for Minnesota's ability of Larson to recruit. But I have to say that the thing that we all got to put our arms around is you got to get the right mix of young guys and old guys.
Great point.
What is the key right now for any of these teams? It's trying to get the good ones to stay 3 years, so they're fully mature. And if you look at the teams that are winning, it seems that the winners are getting the more mature players. We get great hockey players. Moscow did a fantastic job. So what happens last year? They're so good, 6 of them go and turn pro. Mm-hmm. You got 1 and 2 year guys leaving. So now you leave the program like they left it this past year with 6 key players. 8 total, counting 2 good ones that graduated, out of the lineup. So that's going to be the key for Minnesota, or it is a key for any school, that they got to be able to keep them long enough to win the thing.
A lot of questions coming in, college hockey related, including whether you want to make a prediction about what will happen at the Frozen Four.
Yeah, I got a sleeper team, and I'm just, it might not happen, but Denver seems a little older to me and a little more ready. Everybody's, thinking Michigan's been the top team, basically 1 and 2 all year long. Look at Michigan State gets upset, and they're winning 3-1 with 3 minutes to go, and Wisconsin comes back and beats them in overtime. I mean, that was really an upset. And, Hastings has done a great job there in Wisconsin this year, and he had done a great job in Mankato. I think that it's going to be tough for Wisconsin to win. They could come back. And Michigan, should be the one that's going to win this thing. But I just, my dark horse is Denver.
I still have people who text saying that they miss they want to find a way to bring back the old WCHA. What can you tell them? Do you think it's some decade they're going to have to move on?
No, yeah,
with
they
their
can
lives?
move on now, because look at the Big Ten, how many good teams they've had. They had.
They're still telling me it's not the same.
Yeah, well, it might not be the same because
we can't win
names.
Okay,
but it's like every year you get a different type of movie winning the Academy Awards, the Oscar. But if you like movies and you like the ones that are good, they might be different. Might be a comedy, might be a musical, might be a drama, but you got to go with the winner.
This is from Fort, I think, in Golden Valley. Many years ago, he writes, I was a 30-something-year-old caddy at Woodhill and was looping for 2 members. There were 2 guests in the foursome in a cart, Louie and Dave Mona. Louie and Mona got into a heated conversation regarding hockey and basketball. Does Louie remember this?
Oh, I know.
Do you have any recollection? Was it which sport was more taxing between the two? It could have been the Johnny Athletic thing all over, but long before Johnny even existed?
Oh, so Mona's been coaching Johnny then.
That may be, yes. So it doesn't come to mind.
No.
You have a good memory, but there's not a particular...
But I don't think David was that strong on basketball over hockey. That's why I'm saying that.
You think it
might have been baseball, then I could see him being like that.
That could be. Goaltender question from the audience, too. Gustafson or the kid when you start the playoffs? I
get a different question. Is Gustin on a short leash in the playoffs? Because I think there's no question in my mind Gustin is going to start unless something happens between now and the end of the year. But
you're right. The leash is the question.
The leash is the question.
Yeah.
If we look back, what was the last year before when the leash was too long?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay.
Gaardsy and I might have gotten into that subject from time to time. Garen still doesn't like any of that discussion, but I think it's a fair question. And you nailed it. That's exactly it. Gus is going to start, but it's, how much are you adhering to him being the guy? He's got to play through it. And I don't know, how do you think that should be handled? If it was you, how long's the leash?
It wouldn't be long now, because if Wallstedt keeps playing the way he's played the last 4 games, I'd have no problem, making a change. But I think that you have to see. When I say the leash, it doesn't mean that just because you got Gus get scored on. It's how the goals go in.
This is from Larry Mondello guy, the resident comedian here on the Fan. Which is more exhausting, fighting for a loose puck or battling for position in the paint for a rebound? I don't think it's close, he writes. Think how much more leverage and power you get standing on feet and not skates. And hockey players are tiny. Aren't a lot of them 5'10", 175-pound guys. Or there aren't a lot of 5'10", 175-pound guys in the NBA.
And there are not a lot in the NHL either. But I tell Modelo, I do like it. Modelo beer. That's a great beer.
Yeah.
But those pucks aren't loose when they're along the boards and free. And when you're coming at them at 30 miles an hour,
right?
That's a little different. I think that maybe Larry just played basketball.
That could be, too. WCHA fan has emerged again, listening to our conversation, and he's saying it has nothing to do with winning games. WCHA was for the fans. Gophers versus St. Cloud. UMD, Mankato. The Minnesota rivalry in college hockey is dead. The team won in the Big Ten, but the fans lost. Nothing will change that. What would you say to him?
Well, then you got to just develop new rivalries. It's just like when you move divisions. We were in Buffalo, Toronto, Boston. When I took over the North Stars, they moved us that year. They moved us into we didn't have names in it. Divisions. It was like the Smythe or something out there. And so here we were with Boston, Buffalo, and Toronto in our division. 2 years later, we go in with Chicago, and it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to the North Stars. With that, getting Chicago and St. Louis back. And we had started with St. Louis. So you learn to hate, other teams, and that's what you got to do.
Minnesota Wild have won only 25 regulation games. No team since the Kings has won a cup with 34 or less regulation wins. Is that a concern to you?
It is to only a point, because they've won a lot of overtime games, and a lot of these games go to overtime. So if Minnesota's record continues, if they can get to overtime, just the same way the U.S. got to overtime, you got a chance to win a game, even though it's not going to be 3-3, but 5-5. If their record continues, then they'll have a good run.
Last but not, let me see if I can find it. I thought I saved it. I did save one of them, and I don't know if you have any insight into this, but you just did a TV game. Louie, do you have any idea what the Wild are going to do next year for TV? FanDuel TV is likely not coming back next year. I'm curious about if over-the-air is a possibility, or Victory Sports like Dallas has. Do you have any insight on where this is going?
I have no insight, but I have feelings, and I don't have anything to back it up. And I do think that maybe Craig Leopold getting involved with the Twins as minority ownership might be, and Craig's really bright. He was a marketing guy before he went into hockey. And I kind of think that he would try to be pushing them to have something like we had with Spectrum Sports, us and the Twins. And maybe he could do that with the Wild and the Twins right now, and set up their own TV network, and maybe get some other, programming in there. Whether it's college hockey, small, people like St. Thomas, maybe if they don't, or even Duluth, if they don't have TV, that they could be put on some nights. Because right now, the way everything's going on streaming, and Nesson has been extremely successful in Boston with it.
Yeah, that's true.
And if the Twins wouldn't have left us in 1988, we probably would be controlling the TV market right now.
You'd be a lot richer, too, wouldn't you?
Not me. I had nothing to do.
You didn't? I thought you had something. I thought you had a stake in that.
No, I wish I did. I would still be working, I got to keep working.
You'd be working anyway. How hard is it for you to come back to even like 42 degrees? I mean, is it just because you once upon a time, you kind of built that extra layer just living here. You don't live here anymore. So is it a rude awakening for you? Do you have to wear like extra layers because you've gone soft in Florida, growing the
jacket
game?
I got on. I was on the trip and I had no jacket.
See?
Tony DaCosta had to take care of me.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Nice little wild warm-up jacket.
I forget what it feels like to be here, but I can handle 48, 50.
We're still waiting, Gaardsy and me, and I think we're going to be waiting a long time for some Olympic stuff from Guerin. Because he did the TV show with us. He did enough said with us, and I begged him, come on, you got to have an extra Olympic hoodie or something.
Well, he does. He keeps it for himself.
I know. That's frustrating. I mean, throw us a bone every once in a while. I'm not sure we're going to get. Maybe if they get out of the first round, he'll be in a better mood in that regard. I'm not sure.
Well, that would be something. It just, I'm so anxious for this playoff round. I think it's going to get. Yeah, you just imagine next year they get 2 extra games to play. It's 84 coming in. I mean, these guys are in their money. They eat like they're going to the electric chair. I mean, it's like the Last Supper. They eat about 7 times a day. I can't believe it. It's just amazing to me. It's just crazy.
Is that true?
They get up. They have breakfast. Mm-hmm. They go to the rink. They got snacks outside the room before they come home. They come home. They go to have another meal. They go to bed, they get up, they have a snack at 3. They go to the rink, there's food outside. In fact, I had to go and steal one blueberry muffin because nobody
Sound
got
like
it.
Gaardsy at the concession line.
After the game,
In the media room.
After the game, they got pizza outside the door and sandwiches. Then they get in the plane and they have some things to eat until they have the main meal. Then they have like steak or chicken or
Really?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
After the game?
After the game, I said, "This is like the Last Supper." It really is. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, what's interesting to me about that is, back in my days, around the Twins, in clubhouses, there'd be, night games end at 11, whatever, 10:30, and then you'd walk, and the same thing. They had these huge buffet spreads, and it was all like comfort food. It was like fried chicken, mashed potatoes, roast beef. Now, I think in baseball, they've gone away from that to try to go to healthier stuff, but you're telling me in hockey it's still the same. How do you eat at like 11 o'clock with a bucket in your gut and then go to sleep? I don't get it.
Well, these guys work so, I'm serious.
Yeah.
They work so hard, they burn it off.
They burn it all off.
They burn it off.
Yeah.
The big difference was after the game, when I was down in the Wild Room one time and Andrew Burnett came in. I'm talking to Dr. Burns, and Andrew Burnett came in and he sat in a chair, and Burns goes over and puts an intravenous in him. And Sheldon comes back to me and says, "What's the matter with him?" He said, "Oh, he's just fluids." I said, "Didn't he ever hear beer?" We used to have beer in the locker room. I couldn't believe the difference. I said, "What a difference." Moose Vasco would have had a half a case by then. And these guys, they take intravenous and they take food.
That's tremendous.
It's just amazing.
That's unbelievable.
I said, I've seen weird things in my life. I was telling Justin before, about 10 years ago, I was on a cruise.
Which one?
I can't remember. Yeah. But my wife and I were there after dinner going to see a musical show, and this older couple sitting to our left, and this guy sort of falls asleep on my shoulder, and I give him a little nudge, and I give him another nudge. He never moved. I looked at his wife. She was panic-stricken. I called for a doctor. They stopped the show. The doctor comes. They take him out. He died. And the next day I'm looking, and they're taking the casket out and the woman out. I said, I've been through a lot of weird stuff in my life.
Wow.
Imagine that.
No, I can't.
And then they put the show back on. I mean, as soon as they move them out, and then I started wondering, I wonder how often this happens on cruises,
You don't want to know.
No, I know. But
yeah.
Somebody is asking, 612 guys, did Louie let the cat out of the bag about Craig Leopold, minority owner of the Twins? That's out, isn't it?
Yeah, that's been out.
That's
not a scoop.
Yeah, no,
that's what I thought.
No.
He thought maybe you were revealing.
Oh, no,
because
no.
for a long time it wasn't, was it? I think that was part of it.
Right, but we learned that a couple of months ago.
Yeah, we learned that. Okay.
Yeah, there was him and there were somebody else from some other place.
Some New York bankers out east.
That's what I thought.
Places.
By the way, did you see, the NBA is finally catching up with the NHL. They're probably going to add two teams.
Seattle and Vegas.
and Seattle, where, obviously you guys got there first. Yeah. But did you see the estimated entry fee to get into the NBA?
$6 billion?
Minimum $8 billion a team, maybe $10 billion a team. Louie, let's just say it's $8 billion a team. That's $16 billion for the two teams, divided up among the 30 owners. That's $500 million in the back pocket of A-Rod and Mark Lowry. You think Glenn Taylor isn't even sicker?
Right now he's having a heart attack.
About giving up the teams the way he did at the bargain price he did? That doesn't even seem possible to me.
No, I don't know how you make the numbers work.
I don't either.
How much money can you get from TV? Because that's where you're not going to get it through the gate. You can't sell the tickets.
It's got to be TV.
It's got to be TV revenue. And just, I don't know how, you always, it's the greater fool than I theory. They hope that somebody comes along when you sell a team.
Yeah, that's
greater
it.
fool than you, and you make your money back.
That's it.
But that's what you either have to wait to die and leave it to your family,
right,
or just sell it. Because you're never going to make cash flow during that period, I can't think.
That's, again, maybe what we're going to find out is the NBA is going to expand to 90 games a season to add more revenue, because I don't know how they're going to do it at 82.
Because they're charging you for that blueberry muffin that you took, too.
Yeah, but you know what? Right. They could go to 90 games. They only play 45. Tell that.
Good shot. Well played.
Yeah.
Very well played. And he can't argue it. He knows that the league is vulnerable on that, and tanking.
Yeah.
Tanking's a massive issue for sure. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Next time we'll see you in studio, you said May?
Late May, probably.
Okay, well, it'll come
It was a nice
fast.
surprise.
Yeah, it was a great surprise. It was outstanding. And then
we appreciate that your taxes are so complicated. You can't just email the forms. You got to come back and do it. We appreciate that.
I really came home for some Kemp's ice cream.
Kemp's ice cream.
Yeah,
they
right
help
across
as
the
well.
street.
Now you got another speaking engagement.
Yeah.
Now, do you write all your speeches, or do you just kind of do notes? How do you do it?
I write them.
You do?
My assistant types them up, but
right.
I go through a small forest. That's what she said. She says, we're going to have to grow more trees.
So do you have okay, here's do you have, over the course of time, you've given a lot of speeches, I'm sure. You're like, okay, I got 10 different themes, and I'll pick, on a given time, let's go to theme number 3 or whatever. Or, how do you recycle a lot of stuff? How do you do it?
No, I actually was giving up speaking. I said, I've done enough. I don't want to do it. Then I did one 2 years ago. Then I'm going to do one tomorrow. and I thought, what could I talk about that I haven't talked about that I think is really important? So then I come up with an idea.
That works.
Yeah, and just build around that. It just, it's something you want to have people interested in, something they probably haven't heard much about.
Right.
And work some stories in to have it relate to them, and go.
Yeah, you've done it a few times.
Yeah, 1,000 times.
You know how to make it work for people.
Part of my first contract, I did the personal service, and part of that personal service was that I had to do every appearance that the players wouldn't do, and I had to do it for nothing. And then whether it's just going to talk to a high school team or a grade school team and make $50, I wouldn't make the money. I had to do that for 3 years. That was part of the way I sold my personal contract.
That's great. That's great practice there.
And then, after 3 years, I started doing it myself and getting paid for it. So it was different.
Yeah, you weren't giving it away at that point.
No, because I'm.
But by that point, you were prepped because you gained all that experience. You get used to it. You can think on a dime.
Yeah,
it's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
it's great to see you.
Nice to see you.
We'll see you in May. We'll talk to you though next week. We're getting ever closer. Like you said, we just want the postseason to begin, man.
Can't wait.
It's just
can't wait.
So we can get past evaluating. Well, does this matter? Or this loss matter? Or what? Should they rest? Should they just let's get to some games, right?
You got it.
We're getting close. Good
nice
to see you, man.
Thanks.
Always a pleasure, Luigi. Let's pause. A little late. Top of the 6 o'clock hour. Back in just a minute. Guy checks in with Dan. Some guy died on Louie's shoulder. That's basically what he confirmed.
Yes, I'd never heard that one before.
I don't think that's been in any of the books. Maybe it has. I'm not sure. That's a rude awakening. I mean, that would, I would think, be jarring.
Yeah. For everybody.
So his wife was right there, too.
Yeah,
it's
they're just watching a show.
They're watching a show, and it's just, I mean, whatever, I guess it's the old, I mean, there are probably no good ways to go, but, I mean, it's just that's an unusual one, I would say. What do you think?
But you have heard the stories about people that pass away on
cruises. It's true.
And what they've got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
And
they don't shut down the cruise for you.
No. They just kind of wait till the next port.
Moment of silence, maybe, hopefully.
I don't know.
Something like that. But it's...
And you didn't remember which cruise it was on. That's the other best part.
That's the best part, isn't it? Well, I mean, like I said, it could be one of 150 cruises. Easily.
Yeah.
One of the best Columbo episodes was a murder that takes place on a cruise ship. Robert Vaughn was the bad guy. And Columbo is just happened to be on the cruise, and so he suddenly is in a position where he's got some detecting to do.
Lucky for those people on the cruise that he was there.
That's true, because it might not have otherwise been solved.
Might have gotten away.
That's for sure. Do we think we've solved the question of which is the more taxing game, or do you think it's just going to be an ongoing battle depending on whether you like hockey or basketball?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. But it's not even like a battle. It's almost like a cheap shot hockey fight between the sides.
Louie got down and dirty in a way that I'm not sure I fully expected. I mean, he definitely, I'm assuming, Johnny, the word's going to filter to Johnny.
It already has. He's tweeted about it.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, he's tweeted about it already. Yeah, you can check out his Twitter handle.
Oh, that's too good.
Word is already filtered to him. He was probably already listening.
Motivated?
I think he just enjoed his role in the whole thing.
He doesn't mind it. Yeah.
Being the instigator.
Getting the hockey community going.
Yes.
But, I mean, I think Louie does have that figured out. That he's bewildered by the frequency with which the hockey community loses its mind over somebody who's obviously trying to get them going,
Easily
even more
triggered.
than I'm trying to get them going.
Very easily triggered. Yeah, Louie wants the hockey community to have a little bit more security about itself than they currently do.
And that is
but that comes with age and wisdom. That's Luigi.
Well, that is true in his case, but we got a lot of people, I'm afraid, close to his age who in the hockey community that still remain as defensive as ever. We went long with Luigi. Let's get one more pause in. We'll remind you, we had a terrific array of guests today. I want to give you highlights from our 3:30 guest and our 4:30 guest, and we'll also prepare you for what we have coming up next here on The Fan.
Show Wrap is presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
I know I'm perhaps not the most objective, but I thought our 3:30 and 4:30 guests were, the word I think I used with Rich Gannon was exemplary. Brilliant work in the case of Tom Crean at 3:30 and Gannon at 4:30. In both cases, speaking largely about what one would expect. With Crean, he was at the UConn Duke unbelievable finish. So we talked some college hoops. We talked 4 players on the floor for your own team, how that might happen. We talked plenty of Minnesota Timberwolves as well, and even a little football. That was between 3:30 and just past 4 o'clock. We went long there. We went long with Gannon at 4:30 for the same reason. He was so damned good about the Vikings quarterback situation. And I will submit to you that interview will be my Exhibit A, that I have every right to some of my skepticism on Kyler Murray. Now, I'll add, Gannon being the he, I think endorsed the decision given the Vikings' alternatives. But he also said, you have to go into this with your eyes open about Kyler Murray. And you have to have the come-to-Jesus meeting, presumably you already did, even before you had made the deal, signed him, with him about what he needs to do and the degree to which he needs to be challenged. And you could hear in Gannon's voice at times his own skepticism about whether 7 years in, this will be year 8 next year, that Murray's got it in him, or that it's understandable if you're not sure that he does. So a very, I think, honest and forthright analysis of what Murray at his best represents, but also the pitfalls that you have every right to wonder about going in, no matter how elusive he can be. Both outstanding, and Louie is always great. He gave us a great 5 o'clock hour on all sorts of things. It is interesting that Louie continues to be pretty steadfast, and he's not as concerned about the Wild as many of the fans are at this point. So we'll find out soon enough, right? Because the regular season...
Got like 2 weeks left, basically.
2 weeks in both leagues, right?
Yeah.
There's no play-in in hockey, though, correct?
Correct.
Basketball, there's still a play-in. We cannot fall to the play-in. The lowest we can fall is 6. And then if we're 6, we're probably playing the Lakers. If we're 5 or 4, we're probably either hosting the Nuggets or playing the Nuggets.
Nuggets are looking likely right now.
Yeah, that's the way it looks again. And I'd love another Nuggets matchup, wouldn't you?
Yes, it's a fun one.
It's a fun one. Denver, you could look at Denver 2 ways. One, they've been decimated by injury in a way that the Wolves haven't, and yet they're still above the Wolves in the standings.
Yep.
The other way so they're dangerous and deeper than they were a year ago, but the other way you can look at it is they don't guard. And are they going to suddenly, turn the switch on in the postseason? It's hard to say. The Wolves, we know, can guard. They don't always do it, but they can. It's not really been in Denver's DNA this year. So that would be a good matchup. Bottom line is 3 outstanding guests today, and if you missed any of them, podcast, watch later, at your leisure, whenever it works for you. Kessler is on the docket for tomorrow. Looks like Seifert Thursday. Is that correct?
That's the tentative plan.
And it looks like Andy Luger is going to come in studio Thursday bearing gifts.
Wow.
He's bringing gifts to the show for a very specific reason, which I will allow him to explain when he comes into studio on Thursday. And who knows what else we got coming up. Because the Wolves are off tonight. Wild are off till Thursday, right?
Correct.
When do the Wolves play next?
The Wolves, they are Thursday, Friday, I think.
Detroit is Thursday, right?
Detroit
At
and
Detroit.
Philly. Yeah, we go back to back.
I think Detroit just lost an OT to Okie City in Okie City, still without Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting deal. Fan on Demand is going to follow us as per usual tonight, and then it will be the award-winning Dan Patrick program. That will be coming up as well. We'll talk to you tomorrow. It starts all over again, beginning at 3 o'clock, right here on The Fan.
A lot of things that are easily correctable.